let me start off by asking you a question. How long have you been a Dodger fan?
I've been a Dodger fan pretty much all my life. I grew up in Angel House. My older brother wouldn't have it, so Dodgers were the only way to go.
1988 World Series, and I think I was like 7 or 8.
God, since I was born. My first word was Dodger.
Well, since they moved here in 1958.
I've been a lifelong Dodger fan since probably the early 1960s when my dad took me to the first game to watch Frank Howard play the outfield for the Dodgers.
It was the day that Fonzie jumped over the shark. I remember that, so that was since 6, 7 years old. I've been a true blue Dodger fan.
1975, something like that.
I think I was born a Dodger fan.
My name is Juan Ramirez, and as far back as I can remember, I've always been a Dodger fan. I grew up listening to Vin Scully talk about the Dodgers and Farmer John hot dogs. I remember as a kid playing in the front yard and pretending I was Fernando Valenzuela. I remember the day Mike Piazza got traded. Win or lose, I will always be a Dodger fan because I love the Dodgers and I bleed Dodger blue. In 2011, the Los Angeles Dodgers were dragged into bankruptcy. For many Dodger fans, this was the last straw. They had become tired of the gross mismanagement and financial abuse of their team. So a group of Dodger fans banded together and created a grassroots movement. I was a part of this movement, so I borrowed my friend's camera and began documenting our efforts to take back our team. I interviewed many Dodger fans, and they shared their reactions to the movement. The message was clear. The Dodger fans demanded the removal of the man they held responsible for the team's fall from grace, the owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers, Frank McCourt.
He's a snake. He's a shyster. He's a hustler. He's a greedy son of a bitch. His wife is the perfect shadow of that.
Somebody coming from Boston and trying to run the Dodger organization. I mean, come on. Like, I have nothing against Bostonians, but stay in your territory. I mean, geez. Look at what's happened.
People are upset with Frank McCourt, and at least, in my circle of friends, most of us who are Dodger fans, who do go to games year after year, this year are not going, specifically with the intent of not giving that asshole any money.
January 29, 2004, Major League Baseball unanimously approved the sale of the Dodgers to Frank McCourt for $430 million. It's a leveraged deal financed mostly by debt. McCourt needed a $145 million loan from Fox, the team's previous owner, to finalize the deal. He put up his Boston parking lots as collateral.
He was basically buying the Dodgers on credit and doing what people have told their kids for years and years not to do. If you don't have the cash to buy something, don't buy it.
Frank owns the Dodgers. Jamie was the CEO until this week when, after an alleged affair with her bodyguard, she is gone! Frank fired his wife of 30 years. She then fired back, suing for divorce and much, much more.
And so begins the McCourt divorce soap opera.
Mrs. McCourt is seeking obscene amounts of spousal support.
They flew first class when they didn't fly private planes. They stayed at luxury hotels. This Dodger organization is a cash cow. There's plenty of money to go around for both parties to live very comfortably for the rest of their lives.
Now, court documents filed in the divorce case show that the McCourts took over $100 million in personal distributions from the team between 2004 and 2009, almost half for mortgages and real estate.
My mouth just dropped when I heard about what he was doing with all the money that he was spending, him and his wife, this lavish lifestyle that they've had. When in reality it was all funded by the Dodgers.
It was a travesty when you find out about all the money he's putting into houses and all these luxuries and basically taking it out of the Dodgers, budget and their finances. It's horrible, and it makes you realize that he really wasn't in this for the team.
On top of Frank McCourt's financial problems, he also had to deal with the growing security issue at Dodger Stadium.
Brian Stowe continues to fight for his life after being almost beaten to death outside of Dodger Stadium on opening day. That violent attack has put pressure on the Dodgers organization to do something about what many see as a disturbing trend at this ballpark.
Because it's not a family-friendly environment, and from my point of view, after what's has happened. But once they do, then I'll go ahead and actually participate once again and go out, take my daughter how my father used to take us, my brother and myself, to the games.
April 20th, 2011. Baseball Commissioner Bud Selig says he will appoint a trustee to oversee day-to-day operations of the Dodgers.
We have a transaction that's fully negotiated, fully drafted, ready to be signed today by the Dodgers and by Fox. It's on Bud Selig's desk. The only thing standing between that deal closing, which assures the financial stability of the franchise, is Bud Selig.
June 20th, 2011. Commissioner Bud Selig rejects the TV deal with Fox. The Fox deal could have paid the Dodgers in excess of $3 billion over 17 years. June 27, 2011, the Dodgers file for bankruptcy protection.
I could have never imagined that, my Dodger team was going to be bankrupt. It's pretty incredible what he's come in and done. No one imagined that.
Since 1970, 5 Major League Baseball teams have filed for bankruptcy. 4 of them have resulted in the team being sold. One of those teams was the Seattle Pilots, which were sold to Bud Selig, who moved them to Milwaukee and renamed them the Brewers. Bud Selig is the current commissioner of Major League Baseball. The 5th team to file for bankruptcy are the Los Angeles Dodgers, and their fate has not yet been determined.
What I would say to fans is to give me a chance, a real chance. And what I really want to say to fans today, now that I'm speaking out, because I haven't spoken out and defended myself, I'd like to apologize to fans and say I'm sorry. I'm sorry that my mess, my personal mess, has affected their lives and their enjoyment of supporting the Dodgers. I'm sorry of certain lifestyle decisions that I've made. I'm sorry that I've been a source of embarrassment for them. That when the fans understand what's going on here, and the fans understand how passionately I feel about this team and this community, and how committed I am to them, that they will support me.
So what do you think of the whole Frank McCourt situation?
Well, I think Frank should get a second chance to own the team again. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. Hell, it was his wife.
He will never win back LA. He's lost him for good.
He doesn't deserve a second chance. He's already proven that his loyalties really don't fall with the Dodgers. And if he really, truly loved this team, he'd sell it.
Well, he has the right to do this. He's the owner of the team, and however he feels best, he can manage that team from a business standpoint, from a financial standpoint. That's his right as an owner.
Former Dodger players began speaking out about the hard times the organization had fallen on. Oral Hershiser and Steve Garvey were rumored to be a part of a group interested in buying the team. Steve Garvey was fired from the Dodgers Community Relations Department in 2011 amid his attempts to seek support to buy out Frank McCourt. 2011 was Garvey's 30th year with the Dodger organization. It was becoming clear that anyone who rooted for the Dodgers wanted a return to the glory days, to the days when Kirk Gibson limped to the plate and they won their last World Series.
At least I saw it on TV. I'm not one of the 2 million people that say they saw it in person when Kirk Gibson hit the home run in 1988 to beat the Oakland A's and take us on to the World Series. And that was the last time we've made it to the promised land. And hopefully if we get rid of Frank McCourt, we can get more money, we can buy more players, we can get the team to be more competitive. The promised land may not be too far away, but we got to get Frank McCourt out because we're just treading water right now. And in fact, we're not even treading water, we're drowning.
There was a petition started on Change.org addressed to Bud Selig and Major League Baseball requesting to remove Frank McCourt as owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Okay, I wrote a letter to Bud Selig basically begging him to take over the Dodgers and remove Frank McCourt as owner of the Dodgers. So here's the letter right here, and we're gonna mail it here. So the reason why I wrote the letter to Bud Selig was I had heard that other fans were writing letters to Bud Selig. So I thought, well, the more letters that he gets, maybe it will force him to have to do something. I mean, I believe he has the power. I don't understand why he's waiting so long.
International? Okay. So you want a specific one.
You get that?
First class international.
If you go on the internet, you'll find a lot of anti-McCourt sentiment. There are fan-created Facebook pages like Frank McCourt, Sell the Dodgers, Leave LA. Websites like frankrup.com. Frank McCourt has inspired a whole new industry. You can buy anti-Frank McCourt t-shirts, bankruptcy jerseys, and anti-McCourt bumper stickers.
Frank McCourt out shirt.
Yeah.
Can you talk about these shirts?
Yeah, so we felt we had to do something about this. Not only get out here with signs, but also wear shirts around town, go to the bars, just do anything we could to promote the fact that this man needs to leave. And ironically enough, the words out are in his actual name. So, I mean, it can't get any better than that. It says the message. His last name says it all. McCourt out.
The website I find myself visiting the most, however, is Mark Cuban Save the Dodgers, founded by Roger Arrieta.
If you go to the site, it's for people to leave comments about what the Dodgers mean to them, what their memories of the Dodgers, and then I chose Mark Cuban just because when I was thinking of who could buy the Dodgers, and obviously Mark Cuban's a billionaire, he has a lot of money, he's had success turning franchises around, so I thought that was a good fit. But as I've always stated, it doesn't have to be Mark Cuban. I'd love to see that, but if it's not him, the goal of my site is to save the Dodgers. So if it's anybody else that's gonna come in and turn this franchise around and restore it back to those days of like I was telling you, like when I grew up with, in the 70s and 80s, as a kid and me growing up, to the Dodger tradition, that's what it's about.
I finally received a response from Major League Baseball regarding the letter I had sent the commissioner. The letter basically said they acknowledged my concern, they were monitoring the situation, and have the best interests in mind for the Dodgers. It wasn't even signed by the commissioner.
McCourt must go! 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 McCourt must go!
Roger was organizing a one-day boycott and protest to take place outside of Dodger Stadium. He was asking the Dodger fans to not go to Saturday's game and instead join us on the corner of Sunset and Elysian Park. The protest was to take place on July 9th, which happened to be a nationally televised game. And what better way to send our message to not only Frank McCourt, but to Major League Baseball Commissioner Bud Selig than through their own game of the week. So, what do you think of my sign?
In other news now, more calls for Dodgers owner Frank McCourt to sell the team. Today, protesters gathered near Dodger Stadium demanding that fans boycott the game against the San Diego Padres.
I used to be a season ticket holder last year. I turned in my tickets this year, and I've been to maybe 2 games at the most. I'm still a Dodger fan, but I don't want to support McCourt at all.
I wish I could meet him in person just so I could just plead with him. Please, just sell the team. You lost, man. No one wants you here. Just sell the team. Cash in and go, please.
Go back to Boston! Go back to Boston!
They don't want 19,000 people on a giveaway night. That's not good for baseball. That's not good for LA. That's not good. That's not what we deserve as Dodger fans. I've been a Dodger fan all my life.
Roger Arrieta started the website MarkCubanSaveTheDodgers.com and organized today's protest.
Roger is always on, getting interviewed either by Fred Rogan, he's on the radio, he's out there pushing it. So Roger is the leader, he's the example, and I want to give all the credit for what's happening to Roger.
I just decided, you know what, we got to step out there, we got to go out and start speaking and showing that the fans need to be heard, and that's why we did the first protest.
Coverage on the news, it turns out, I guess I'm the representative for the Spanish-speaking community when it comes to the boycott and the protests, because I've been interviewed by Univision, and I've been interviewed by Telemundo.
Da mucha tristeza que nos esté robando el equipo, porque todo el dinero que pagamos, los $15 que pagan para entrar a estacionar y lo que pagamos por los boletos, no lo está poniendo en el equipo, lo está usando para comprar casas, tiene 7 casas, le paga a sus hijos ni están en el equipo.
Anyone who saw the July 9th nationally televised game could see that the stadium was empty. Word was getting out about the boycott. And it wasn't just that game. A lot of Dodger fans have been staying away from many games this season.
Mary and I were season ticket holders up until this year. We went to 70 games a year. This year we've gone to 2 games because we still got to get our baseball fix, but we certainly aren't going to 70 games, and we don't want to give Frank McCourt any more money.
We will not come back to Dodger Stadium until there's new owners.
I think it's a message they're sending out to McCourt. I myself have usually on a yearly basis, I'd say from like 2000 to 2010 was going to anywhere from like 15 to 20 games a year. This year I think I've been to 2 games. One was Fernando Mania bobblehead, and the other was Fernando Fleece Blanket. Those are the only 2 games that I've been to.
According to court documents in Major League Baseball, Dodgers season ticket sales have fallen from 27,000 in 2007 to about 17,000 in 2011. The sharp drop in attendance at Dodger Stadium this year is likely to cost the Dodgers at least $27 million in reduced ticket sales, concession, and parking revenue for the 2011 season. The Dodgers are on pace to sell fewer than 3 million tickets for the first time since Frank McCourt bought the team in 2004. For those fans who were still going to Dodger games, the boycott made buying Dodger tickets a lot cheaper. However, they still had to deal with the overpriced concessions inside the stadium.
I got those tickets that I told you about a minute ago. 4 rows, I mean, literally 4 rows, and there's the, and you could talk to O'Dog, you could talk to the ballpark. I have never had better seats in my life. And it was because this guy can't, literally, this guy who paid $50,000 each for a set of 4 tickets can't give them away.
We've been to games, we've got kids, and it costs about $100 to feed them at the games.
We're still paying $13 for a Tecate that costs $2 down the street. I mean, he's got to be out of his mind. This is ridiculous.
When they spend $40 to buy hot dogs and sodas for the kids, the money doesn't go to the Dodgers. It goes to Frank McCourt because he owns the concession rights. When somebody buys the foam finger and somebody buys the Dodger baubles and all that, it doesn't go to the Dodgers. It goes to Frank McCourt because he owns the souvenir stands. When Frank McCourt has the Dodgers pay him $1 million a month for rent to use Dodger Stadium, no wonder the Dodgers are bankrupt.
Some Dodger fans are willing to overlook the rising costs of going to games because going to Dodger games is fun for them. They were brought up on the Dodgers and going to Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers were a part of their culture.
The Dodgers run deep in my family. Not only have I been a lifelong fan, but if you want to take it back, my family is from Brooklyn, originally on my dad's side. And my grandfather and his father, I've been told, used to go to games at Ebbets Field. When they moved out west in the 40s, my grandfather took that fandom with him. They wound up in San Francisco before the teams moved out. So my dad grew up rooting for the Dodgers in enemy territory, so to speak.
I grew up with just knowing one grandfather. And that grandfather, whenever I would visit him or he would visit us, all we would do is just watch baseball games. I mean, we would just sit in front of the television set and just watch baseball. I mean, he shared his love of baseball with me. That was his gift to me. And he was a huge Fernando Valenzuela fan. So we would watch a lot of Dodger games. And that's why I'm a Dodger fan.
Just being with my family, actually. Being with my dad on Sundays. Going up with my dad, my mom, and my brother, and just sitting there and watching the game and having food is how we spent our family quality time.
Their parents passed it down to them. And a lot of times in families, like sports is the only thing you sometimes have in common, either with your father or with your family. You can't get along, but you could cheer for the Dodgers together. So,
August 27th was another nationally televised game, so Roger organized another protest. This time we wanted to make it even bigger. We had to do a better job of promoting it. I passed out flyers. I even entered ESPN Radio's Top Fan Contest and took the opportunity to discuss the boycott.
So for all you so-called Dodger fans, die-hard Dodger fans who keep going to Fernando Mania games, keep putting money in his pocket, you're the reason why we can't get rid of Frank McCourt. So you better join. There's a movement out there. There's fans are boycotting. They're no longer going to games. You need to be a part of that boycott.
It seemed like the same people who came out for the first protest came out for the second. Where were all the other Dodger fans who said they would be there? The Mark Cuban Save the Dodgers Facebook page created an event for the protest where 200 people RSVP'd. Less than half of them showed up. I also noticed there was less television news coverage for this protest. It was as if the fans had lost interest. And for the first time, I started to hear Dodger fans question the purpose of the boycott and the protests.
I don't agree with the boycott. I do not agree with the boycott, and I never will, because to me that's like spite, cutting off your nose to spite your face. Like I said, I think we still need to support the guys on the field. I feel very, very strongly about that, because they're not the ones who got us in this mess. It was McCourt.
So do you think it's okay for you to go to Dodger games and other people to boycott, or?
It's their choice. I go for the players, not for the owner.
We're trying to make the differences in terms of ticket sales, in terms of merchandise sales, in terms of advertisers want to put their dollars in the team, because what allows McCourt to maintain a hold is if he's got money coming in. If people aren't buying tickets, if people aren't buying merchandise, he's not making money there.
I mean, I think it's good for them, but honestly, like, I wouldn't do that. I mean, I think it's a waste of time.
I heard people say that the fans who were boycotting games and participating in the protests were not real Dodger fans. This was a battle between millionaires, and they didn't care what the fans thought. The fans couldn't and wouldn't make a difference. They felt the movement was actually hurting the team. It is now the end of the 2011 Major League Baseball season, and for the second season in a row, the Dodgers failed to make the playoffs. There's still a lot of unanswered questions. The McCourt's divorce is still not settled. There are rumors that the Chinese government is part of an investment group interested in buying the Dodgers. The bankruptcy appears to show no end in sight. And if the bankruptcy judge approves Frank McCourt's request to auction off the Dodgers' television rights, Frank McCourt may retain ownership of the team. There's a cloud of uncertainty hanging over the Dodgers' 2012 season, but there is one thing that you can be certain of. If Frank McCourt is still owner of this team in 2012, there will be at least one Dodger fan who will continue being a part of the movement.
I think that if there's something that can get people out there, unified with each other to stand up for something they believe in, I think that's good. I think there needs to be more of that kind of stuff happening.
It's exciting to see people stand up for what they believe in and to come together and go against that giant wall.
We need an ownership that's into baseball, that's into the game, not into the money, not into separating the concessions from the parking lot. Focus on the guys on the field, not on the parking lot. We might be able to win a few more games. That's it.
You have to really believe that a small group of people can change the world, because throughout the history of mankind, that is exactly what has happened. It starts with a small group of people, and then you become a movement. So who knows? I think that the edification, the idea that a group of fans would take time and energy to organize a protest and say, we are stepping away from you, I think is beautiful. I think it's absolutely brilliant and beautiful.